The 46th General Conference of the Nagaland Civil Service Association is being held right now at the Nyathu Resort in Chumoukedima. And the special guest was Sharingan Lunkama, the Speaker of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. And he touched on a few topics, but most importantly, he made sure and he reiterated that everybody, especially the NCS officers, must make effort in ensuring the quasi-statutory stance of the grassroots level to continue and to go back to the roots and see the brethren on what they did back in the days. The Chief Secretary, Jay Alam, was also speaking at the conference where he said that all the NCS officers were all merit-based recruitments and the best of the best have been attracted to the NCS. Another information is that 10 NCS officers have been inducted to the IAS. Now 10 is because 2020 was the last general conference. The 45th was only in 2020, but due to the pandemic, it was possible to hold this general conference. And this year, 3 NCS officers were inducted, but since 2020, altogether 10 have been inducted to the IAS. Let's have a look at the program.
I request the Chief Secretary, Government of Nagaland, to also kindly stand and receive a small gift.
The NCS cadre has a history rooted even prior to the attaining of statehood. As I'm informed, the NCS was constituted in the year 1959, when our state was then known as the Naga Hills Twinsang area. Since then, the cadre has grown in strength to, I'm told, 274 members. As the premier civil service of the state, many of its illustrious members have rendered outstanding service to the people of the state during the most difficult times without fear or favor, providing leadership and direction, as we have witnessed in the video that was shown at the start of the program, and to the security of the people. Some of them have made the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. We honor and salute all of them today and encourage the next generation of officers to set similar high standards so that the association will continue to be the backbone of administration in the state. As the premier civil servants of the state, there must be the abiding sense of commitment in each and every one of you. Your aim should be to set high standards and achieve excellence in the profession for the manner in which the officers perform the duties with efficiency and directly impact on the well-being of the citizens. I would like to remind each and every one of us, especially the officers as administrators, be it in the districts, the subdivisions, or the circles. We are not only the most visible of faces of the government, but we are also expected to lead the team, and your level of performance would lead the people to form their impression of the government you represent. Accordingly, good performance on your part will bring accolades to the government, and lack of it is criticism. We all are in the same system. As members of this premier service, it needs to be clearly understood that you also have certain responsibilities and are accountable as well, just like us, the elected members. Prized postings, as earlier speakers have spoken, mentioned, or such tendencies may be harmful in the long run, for they have the effect of eroding the image and standards of the service. And so I urge the association that the association may take corrective measures to overcome such tendencies, if there are any, so as to lift the morale of the service to new heights and standards. We are in an ever-changing world, ever-changing society, where the role of the civil servants have undergone tremendous change. Its role is no longer confined to just the upkeep and maintenance of the rule of law, but is becoming increasingly development-oriented, focusing especially on the socio-economic upliftment of our people. Today, our state is undergoing tremendous changes under sustained initiatives or policies of both the state and central government, wherein the NCS officers are actively contributing, such as the Lighthouse project, the Element Nagaland project, the Chief Minister's health insurance scheme, the IDANT initiatives, and heading several state missions, etc., etc. Today, governance in our state is truly grassroots based, and in the given backdrop, it will not be out of context to say that our rural areas have become the heart of the government in our state, which is true, as more than 90% of the populace are concentrated in the rural areas. Districts and villages are now the recipient of huge direct funding from both the center and the state. However, the devolution of these responsibilities to the grassroots level is not without concern. A vast majority of our village level functionaries lack the experience, the expertise, and infrastructure to make the best use of these resources placed at their disposal. It is therefore of utmost importance that our sincere NCS officers continue to discharge your duties sincerely as you have continued to do so, and give the right direction and guidance to our people in the rural populous area, so that we move towards real economic growth and prosperity. NCS officers, by virtue of your varied field experience, and I supplement the words of our Chief Secretary, are an asset that can bridge the gap between the government policies that many a times may have been overlooked, and by providing critical inputs to the government to enable change and adaptation to differing local conditions and requirements, so that the government functioning can become more relevant and effective. And all this can be meaningfully actuated if only the officers are well trained and equipped for meeting the expectations of the people they serve. It is my hope and belief that the present government is committed to improving the cadre management of the service, to provide better working conditions while introducing intensive focus on capacity building of the NCS officers through better analysis of training needs required at various levels, which I believe will foster sound management, sound governance, and persistent rededication to achieving results. These are necessary to ensure that the governance system moves swiftly towards an even more efficient and accountable and transparent administration and seamless service delivery. I would once again urge all the officers to take hold of all possible opportunities to avail of trainings and thereby broaden your outlook and enrich with newer ideas and learning. We are continuing making an effort to do so with all the honorable members at the Assembly Secretariat, and I will be coming back to that in a few moments. And I take this opportunity to also encourage our senior officers and all the Nagaland civil service officers on a similar note. One very important factor that will determine the importance of the association in the years ahead will be the manner in which its members learn to adapt to the changing times and the working environment, particularly in this highly competitive age of communication and information technology. As our respective Chief Secretary had mentioned, he is an officer, I take pride in saying this, who has worked with my late father as SDO. And now we are working together as he was sharing his experience from the days he was working where issues were localized and now issues are globalized. There are many things which we have to update ourselves and we have to prepare ourselves to meet those challenges and to face those challenges together. There is also the tendency on the part of many, maybe in the later part of the services, to shy away from learning new skills without realizing that learning is a lifelong process and that such skills will continue to be relevant whether in or out of service. Technology and integration and learning is a continuous process. I urge all our dignified and respected NCS officers to make best use of the facilities to your advantage, for it will help the service to stay relevant in the changing times. By virtue of being members of the Covercious and Nagaland civil service, there are but a few of the numerous tasks and responsibilities that have been placed in your hands. We know all of you are heavily burdened. All of you have family commitments to meet. And above all that, time and again you have given your sincere best in the service of our people. We appreciate the commitment with which you have met all these challenges, and I'm sure you will continue to meet all those in the near future. Now that was the formal part of what I wanted to say. Now I want to take a few minutes away from that to come to the informal part of what I want to share with all of us, since we are all sailing in the same boat. In fact, in my interactions with many of the officers, senior officers I should say, I've had good interaction. And we are all facing with similar challenges. I don't intend to stand here and speak as a veteran politician, no. But I would like to share a few thoughts and experiences that I have gained over the last 3 and 4 years, maybe a 10 year or so that, and the opportunity that I have had being the Speaker of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly may not have been very good for my constituency, but for my personal learning, it was the best opportunity to learn the government working, the functioning in the government, policies, how it is framed, and on what aspects we should be focusing. You see, if you remember, we have lost a few of our beloved NCS officers for whom we have given our respects before the start of the program. During the tenure of the 13th August House, I, on behalf of the August House, we have also lost quite a few of our beloved honorable members. But the fact of the matter which I want to share with all of you is that in the 13th House, in a House of 60 members, there were 15.6% representation of elected members between the age of 65 to 86. 15.6%. That comes out roughly to about 26%. Now in this 14th House, we have a representation of 17.4%. That is roughly about an incremental jump of 3% to 29%. That is 29 members, 29 members. An incremental jump of about maybe 2.7%. Why I'm trying to share this with you? Why I'm sharing this with you is because I want to bring up the point that even amongst the elected members and in the August House, young members are taking up the call to take the challenge in the service of our people. 29 elected members who have raised up from the grassroots with good education qualification, with good experience, but most importantly, who have the desire and the passion to serve the people. And that is the most important underlying factor that drives an elected member in the dispensation of his services. Informally, I would like to urge and take the support of my senior officers and all the officers of the Nagaland Civil Services Association that the last mile delivery of services relating to governance is very important. And that is what I've learned starting from the 13th House and continuing to do so into the 14th House. The agendas and the papers, the matters, the issues that come to the Assembly through the public accounts, which our senior officers and my chief secretary is well aware of, which comes to the estimates, gives me a glimpse of what is happening, how it is happening, and what we are doing to arrest and rectify certain situations. In all the issues that come up, the underlying factor which I've observed uniformly is the last mile delivery of services relating to governance at the village, at the block, at the district level. We are in a very important transitional stage, our state, all of us. We must work together, starting from an ESC officer, down up, high up to the senior most officer. The experiences that you have gained, regardless of lack of facility, regardless of challenges, difficulty, the logistical nightmare, regardless of all that, the experience that you have gained are very pertinent, heart inputs based on which policy legislations can take place. And so, the hardships which you may face today, take it as a preparation for you to give back in the form of policy formulation in the years to come. And these hard facts are irrefutable. I would like to take this opportunity to raise a point in which we may all work together, and that is on the point that Nagaland state is having a majority of the populace living in the village areas. I represent a constituency in which 70% of the voters and the population is from the rural area. It may be relevant for today's conference, it may not be relevant. But I still would want to share this point because I will never get this opportunity with all the senior officers and the officers of the Nagaland Civil Service to share this thought. And I want you to go home today with this thought so that you may take a support in the view, in favor of the view, or it may give you something to think about. We are very proud as Nagas of our identity. We are very proud of who we are. Are we proud of where we are at the moment? Ask yourself that question. Are you proud of where you are at the moment? I think the most important thing to speak on that relevant point would be to go back to our roots and see our brethren, how they are doing at the village, at the block, at the district level. We are proud of who we are, and that is why with the 73rd and the 74th Amendment, we have the Village Council Act and the Urban Local Bodies. The Village Council Act of 1978 gives a statutory right to the village council, meaning it's a quasi-government agency, if I'm not mistaken. I think all of us, we come from different constituencies, from different villages, and we are a stakeholder in that. The changes that we want to see, the changes that we want the world to see about us, I think should start from there. Governance must be effectively implemented at the village level by the village council. And our sincere Nagaland civil services officers have been doing that so far. But we must make more effort in ensuring that the quasi-statutory reporting continue to function and to provide its services to the people on behalf of the government as statutorily enacted and passed by all of us. With that, I think we may be getting somewhere to reach somewhere. Unless we do that, 274 odd NCS officers, 60 honorable members, and an equal number of civil servants from the Indian Administrative Service, or be it the Indian Police Service, we may not be able to sustain, or rather achieve what individually we are all thinking about. I think in that, our collective effort and our collective contribution through participation is very important.
Nagaland civil service, as we all know, is the premier civil service of the state. It is a vital institution because it is responsible for implementing the laws and executing policies and programs of the state government, and it acts as an agent of social change and economic development. I was really impressed to see the heartwarming and inspiring stories that have been so beautifully documented. I think it really should inspire each and every one of the members of the association and even other members of the society, where the officers are working in difficult conditions, and yet the satisfaction that they derive out of bringing about some change, making a difference to the lives of some people, and also getting the understanding and insights about how people are living, what are their needs, what needs to be done. All this is actually extremely important, because these insights that you gather in the field, they become the input for the government policies, programs that you design along with others when you work in the secretariat or in the directorates. That the emoluments and the perks that an NCS officer gets may not be comparable with the kind of earnings that people have in other professions. But then the unique opportunity to serve the people and bring about their upliftment is what makes civil service so special. Civil servants are significant stakeholders in ensuring the progress of the nation and are uniquely positioned to improve the lives of citizens. They are the most visible and effective agents of change in our society. You all know that civil services are given special protection under the Constitution of India, under Article 309. We are all protected. And the kind of protection that has been given is actually an attempt to insulate the civil services from extraneous pressures. Some of the pressures were hinted at by the president of NSA. Maybe the framers of the Constitution those days, they realized that the civil services will require that kind of protection. Otherwise, it is possible that in the hands of some unscrupulous elements, the services may not be able to discharge the responsibilities that we cast upon them. So that's why, in terms of, we have a permanent service. It is not a temporary service in the first place. Secondly, there is no hiring and firing system in the service. In the government service, I should say, but particularly for civil servants context, there is no hire and fire. Just imagine if a system of hire and fire was there, what would happen? It will be impossible to actually have a rule-based society. It would have become a society where you do the work which is expected of you, or what is being directed, whether it is as per law, whether it is lawful or not lawful. And if you don't follow, then you are checked out. So that kind of system is not there. Your, service conditions are protected. They cannot be varied to your disadvantage. So these are the protections that are available through the Constitution. And as an organized bureaucracy, we enjoy all these privileges. We know that there are some system inefficiencies, like what was being referred in the transfer postings. We would very much like that we follow a very objective and rule-based system in transfer postings. And in fact, I'll personally be very happy to look at the suggestions that the association is giving. And I can say that we will try our best to ensure that a proper system of transfer postings is put in place. Many attempts have been made in the past, and some rules, regulations are there on paper, but somehow the enforcement of these rules and regulations is perhaps not satisfactory, and I'm sure it leaves a lot of dissatisfaction and a kind of heartburn among many members of the service. Jokingly, they say that there are two cadres in the NCS. One cadre is to serve in the remote areas, and the other cadre serves in the capital and this commercially important place. So people who are in the other cadre, they spend almost their entire life in all these remote districts on our eastern borders and other backward areas, whereas many people are spending almost their entire career in the other part. This is not perhaps a happy situation, and we need to really take care that something is done about it. The responsibility is of the government, of course, but if we get the support of the association, I'm sure we can bring about some improvement in this. The members of the association also, at their own personal, disadvantage also sometimes, if they stick to certain rules, some ethical norms, then a lot of change can be possible. I think it was this year only, we had a tie-up with the St. Stephen's College, and their experts had come to Nagaland. Many of these people were actually very senior retired bureaucrats, chief secretaries of various states and other experts. They came and they interacted with the NCS officers in the ATI. And I also happened to interact with them, some of them. And the feedback I got was really very satisfying, I would say. All these experts were actually very impressed with the kind of officers we have in the NCS, the kind of talent that we are recruiting, and they were really impressed by, the education, articulation, the ideas, and how you present your ideas, and the kind of work that you do was really, really impressive. So that is very satisfying because the state government, and I would say the whole scheme of things is such that recruitment is very fair. It is merit based. We have managed to maintain the systems through the NPSC, because of which the best of the best talent is actually attracted to the NCS, and that is how we are able to attract and recruit people who are the best in the state. Most of the NCS officers spend a large part of their career in the field, and I know that many field postings are full of challenges. The facilities are not there in many places, particularly when you are working as ESCs, SDOs, ADCs in the outposts. The facilities are not there, transport is not good, you have to live away from your families, and particularly when you have children who are school going, if you have old parents who require medical attention. So all these difficulties are there. But despite these difficulties, which requires a lot of sacrifices to be made, all of you have been working hard for the welfare of the state, and we are grateful to you for this. Governance becomes more complex as we progress in our collective life. Maybe some 30 years back, when I was in the field, things were much simpler. Some of you also might be seeing that change. 30 years back or 20 years back, things were quite different. There was no social media, there was no internet, communication facilities were not that good. So it had some advantages also, and it had some disadvantages. Perhaps the disadvantages were more. But from an administration perspective, sometimes I feel that older times were perhaps happier times. We could actually, you see, keep the problems that we face, the law and order problems that we face, or small issues, grievances of the people that we try to handle. Those days it could remain localized. So with our guts, with our diplomacy, with our efforts, negotiating skills, we could actually solve a lot of problems on the ground without letting it become too big. But in today's situation, that is almost next to impossible. Even small problems, they become very big because of the proliferation of the media. So these are the challenges all of you have been facing, but I am happy that the NCS has been able to deliver in the field. There are very good officers who have been working sincerely in different assignments and achieving results also. So friends, Nagaland Civil Service also, like all other walks of life, needs to create a culture of generating fresh ideas, innovation and best practices. It's now a crucial time for us to adapt, innovate and embrace the values that underpin our service. That is integrity, transparency and accountability. These are the guiding principles that will ensure the continued progress and prosperity of our state. We also need to bring lot of reforms to improve the capacity, and the requirement of training has to be met, because one can understand that when you are there in the field in remote places for very long periods and there is no skill upgradation, then many times it happens that when you come to the secretariat and you are required to deal with a specialized assignment, it becomes difficult sometimes to cope with it. So it is very necessary for all the service members to continuously work to, upgrade your skills, develop your capacity, and focus on certain areas where you could specialize. Ultimately, whether it is IAS or LCS, we are generalists. And with due regard to our friends from other services, there is definitely a threat that the time for generalists is over and it is time for specialists to take over. So in that kind of situation, what you need to do, what we need to do perhaps, is to continue to upgrade ourselves. And with focus on one specialization along with the field experience that you have, it is an unbeatable combination. You become extremely good and indispensable, because nobody has the kind of experience that an NCS officer has of working with the people.